Welcome back, friends. Today we are going to make a brown rice. I'm going to show you my method for making brown rice, and afterwards I'm going to talk to you more about how other people might go about doing it. We all find ways that work for us, so I'm going to show you the method that works best for me. Today we have a brown jasmine rice, and what we want to do first is I'm going to dump this into a colander and rinse it off under some cold running water. Let's go to the sink. All right, now let us put it in the pot. And we're doing 1 cup of rice. So for every 1 cup of rice, I do 2 cups of water, which I have measured out right here. And importantly, salt. I'm gonna do a half a teaspoon of salt. If you don't salt your rice, it's going to be very bland, but if you're putting it into something, a super salty sauce or something, I could see that maybe you wouldn't want to salt it during the cooking process. For me though, the best rice is always salted while cooking. So we have a half teaspoon of salt in there. We're gonna put a lid on, and what we want to do now is bring it to a boil. I'm gonna put it on high heat. And with rice, if you're not familiar, you kind of want to pay attention to it before it comes to a boil, because if it starts boiling without you noticing, lots of foamy rice water is going to come out and spill all over the place. So listen, watch, and you also want to try your very best to not take the lid off. So once you know it's coming to a boil and it's boiling, turn it down to a simmer. And we'll show you that when we get to that part. I believe our rice is boiling. One of the ways that you can tell, one, you can hear it. I can hear a lot of sound coming from in there. My lid isn't clanking yet, and I don't want it to, or I'm gonna have an overflow. But you can also see little bits of steam coming out on the side. I don't know if you can see that in a video, but I can see little pockets of steam coming out. I'm gonna take one little peek. Yep, and we have a boil. So I'm gonna turn it down to a very low heat. I have a gas stove that ranges from 1 to 9. I'm gonna go down to between a 3 and a 2. You wanna cook your rice on a low heat so it doesn't cook really fast, and that'll help it cook evenly all throughout each grain. And now I'm gonna set a timer for 35 minutes, and then at 35 minutes, I'll show you how to check to see for doneness. But I'm gonna do my very best until then to not take that lid off, because the steam is a really important part of the cooking process. All right, so we'll be back in 35. Remember how I said, listen, watch, also smell. So my timer was close to 35 minutes, but I ended up going over and checking on this anyway because I could smell it. And it's not burnt by any means, but you know what burnt rice smells like. But once you smell the rice smell, it's getting close to done. It also, the sound of the water had lessened quite a bit, so you don't have the same sounds happening. And also the steam is not as intensely coming out the sides. See how even though I told you you don't want the bubbly mess, I still got one anyway because this lid probably isn't tight fitting enough. Anywho, that'll be fun to clean up later. So now let's look at it. I want to show you what it looks like. A great way to tell when rice is close to done or done is it gets these little holes. So like this and like this. So that's one way of knowing. And then how I always double check too, just to be sure, is take a spoon to the bottom, and if you don't see any water or a bunch of water bubbles, it's good to go. And I don't see any water. There's tiny baby bubbles, but I know if I just turn this off, all of that's gonna evaporate and cook through. It'll keep cooking for a minute. And with rice, now that we have the heat turned off, we're gonna let it stand for 10 minutes off the heat. And then in 10 minutes, we're gonna fluff it and either serve it or store it. So we'll show you that when we get there, but I'm gonna set a timer for 10 minutes before we do anything else. That's really good rice. It has been 10 minutes. Our rice has cooled down a little bit, and now it is safe to fluff with a fork. If you don't wait that 10 minutes, you're going to turn your rice into a bit more of a mushy mess. So give it a nice stir with your fork, and then at this point, serve it, eat it with whatever you're doing for dinner or lunch.
What about second breakfast?
But what I'm gonna do is actually take it over here and spread it out on a baking sheet because I want it to cool down, and then I'm gonna freeze some portions for later use. Or next week I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna cool it down, refrigerate it, and then the next day make a kimchi fried rice with it. So I'm not gonna be eating this right away, so I want it to spread it out so that it cools evenly and it doesn't clump together. And then once this is cooled down, I'm going to pop it into some Ziploc bags and freeze it. Or if I was gonna be using it tomorrow, I'd stick it into a container and refrigerate it, but it's nice to let it cool down like this first. And if you wanna stick around, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit more about brown rice, how to cook it, some tips and tricks, and answer a few commonly asked questions. Ta-da, baba, brown rice, delicious, nutritious. Brown rice, cooking rice. Before I answer just a couple of brief questions, I would want to say that there are a lot of different methods to cooking rice. This is the one that has always worked for me. It's the one that I was taught in culinary school. 1 cup rice, 2 cups water, ½ teaspoon of salt, bring it to a boil, reduce it to a simmer. I get perfect rice every time, but I do want to recognize that everyone has their own method. I have other chef friends that I've taught cooking classes with that have their own methods, and some people feel safer using a rice cooker or an Instapot. So this is the one that I love. I'm confident in it, and it works for me every time. So give it a go. I encourage you to try it. And let's see, a couple of questions. People often ask me, why do you rinse the rice before cooking? And the main reason is you're clearing off some of the surface starches, which cause the rice when you're cooking it to become gummy and it sticks together. And that's what everybody hates when they make rice from scratch, is either if you burn it or if it gets gummy and it sticks together and it doesn't have its individual grains. So rinsing off those surface starches really helps a lot, and it gets rid of any debris that might have collected in there sitting in the bin at the grocery store in a rice bag. The third question is brown rice versus white rice. Is one or the other better? And yes, definitely brown rice is better. If you are looking to have any nutritional value in the food that you're eating, and then you want to go with brown rice, it does take longer to cook. But white rice, they've taken the germ and the hull off. And so you end up with a fast cooking rice that, yeah, is really tasty, but it has no nutritional value. So if you can choose brown over white, it is better for you. And that is all I will say. I think I gave you enough information. Try this out at home. And if you have success or if you don't have success, leave them in the comments below so that I can know what works and what doesn't. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Put it in the pot because I could smell it.